Didn't make it to church today. That's okay. I've got a word for you. Welcome back to Christ Culture, the podcast. I am Calvin. And as always, I want to say thank you. Thank you for listening and watching yet another week. Here you are, and I appreciate it. Continue to like, comment, and subscribe on this material and share it with a friend so that we can continue to grow the community each and every week. Today, we're going to continue to talk about vision. Last week, we kind of talked about vision, but I want to talk about it from a different perspective today. It'll be a quick one, but I want to give you a few things to think about. And today I want to talk about vision and what to do with the vision once you actually get it. One of the biggest things that we struggle with when we get ideas from God is what to do with that idea. Where do I go? What do I do? How do I get started? So I want to talk about that for a moment today. And I want to use Noah and the ark. We all know Noah and the ark and that story. And if you read Genesis, I think it's 6. Let me check real quick. Yeah, Genesis 6. You'll see that God actually gives Noah some instructions on what to do. And some of the instructions are very specific. But if you actually read through it, you'll find that there are a lot of things that God doesn't tell him specifically. He gives him a lot of the architecture, what it's supposed to look like, the different measurements. But God doesn't tell him, hey, this is where you're going to go in the woods and chop down the trees for the material. He doesn't tell him, hey, this is how many nails you're going to need for the boat. He doesn't tell him, it's going to take you this amount of time every day to work on it to get it done. There's a lot of things that are kind of left out there and nuanced if you actually read through that. And I think a lot of the times it's the same way with us, right? We get these ideas, we get these visions from God, but God doesn't tell us every single itty bitty little detail and what to do and what not to do. So I want to talk about some things that you can do if you have an idea, if you have vision, some of those first steps you can take. I heard a message one time, and I can't remember who it's by, but I heard them say that God gives us trees, not chairs. And this really spoke to me because oftentimes God gives us these things, and it's like giving us a tree, right? He doesn't give us the full finished product. He gives us that raw material that we can take and turn into something better. And so I got 3 things that I want to give you today. It'll be very quick. Of things that you can do once you have that vision or idea. And the very first thing that I want you to do is to familiarize yourself with the vision, with the idea that God gave you. And what I mean by that is you should know it inside and out. You should be able to take a piece of paper and write down everything that God told you, all the details about how he wants you to do it, the things that he's revealed to you, the plans that he has given you. You need to understand it and know it better than anyone else. Make your plans, understand your plans, know them inside and out, do your research, write them down, make it plain for yourself and for others. That way, anytime you need to remember your plan, it's always there in your mind. You don't have to go back and read something to try to understand it. You know it in your heart and in your mind. I want you to think about it like this. Keep your plan and the idea and the vision that God has given you as your North Star. Always use that to navigate. Always be following that. Don't steer away from that. And to do that, you have to familiarize yourself with it so that you know it inside and out. You know exactly what you're aiming for and exactly the direction that you're going in. So the very first thing I need you to do is just familiarize yourself with the vision that God has given you. And then the next thing that I want you to do is to find your people. In the Bible, if you read through this story, you'll see that God told Noah, hey, I want you to make this ark, and then I'm going to allow you and your wife to get on. I'm going to allow your sons to get on, and then I'm going to allow your sons' wives to get on as well. And you have to find the people who can reside in that vision with you, because I'm going to tell you this, everyone is not worthy of being a part of your vision. Everyone is not worthy of being a part of your plans and your ideas, and they're not worthy of you bringing them into that inner circle. So don't get an idea, don't get a vision, and then just run off and start telling anybody and everybody, because a lot of things can happen. One of the things that can happen is somebody can hijack your idea or your vision. The other thing that can happen is somebody can become, jealous, and they want to bring you down, and they want to put down your idea in your vision, and you don't need that negativity. So be careful who you invite into your vision, into your idea, and pray to God and ask him to reveal those people to you, to bring those people into your life. And I guarantee you those people will end up in your proximity, those who can reside in that vision with you. So find your people. That's the second one. And then the last one that I want you to do, let me check my notes real quick. We're going to find those people, and then we're going to stick to the script. So one of the scriptures, and I want to be accurate with this, is Genesis 6:22. It says, Noah did everything just as God commanded him. And that's very important because oftentimes when we get these ideas and these visions, we start out following them, right? We're gung-ho and we're ready to go and we're following what God told us, and that's what we're doing. But along the way somewhere we get greedy. And along the way somewhere we get lazy and we start to cut corners and we start to do things just for money or for notoriety, and we forget why we're doing it, and we cannot do this. Imagine if Noah started to cut corners when he was building the ark and he didn't put enough nails in certain parts, or he didn't use the right type of materials. The whole thing could have fell apart once the flood came. Or imagine he started to get greedy and say, you know what? I know God said these few people are going to be on there with me, but I'm going to charge people money and allow them to get on the boat. How would that have turned out? What if the boat was too heavy and it ended up sinking? So we can't get greedy along the way. We can't start cutting corners along the way. We have to stick to the script that God gave us along with that vision. That's very, very important. And I kind of want to talk for a second about the time where I kind of had to do this. I always try to give you something practical. And I think the best thing that I can come up with right now is just this season of the podcast, right? God gave me this vision for how this season was going to turn out, and what it was going to look like and how it was going to flow and how the episodes were going to go. And I try my best to stick to the script. So I've been, following the script for each and every episode. And when it comes to finding the people, the thing that God revealed to me before this season of the podcast was, hey, you're going to do the episodes by yourself, which is very different for me. If you've watched the show at all, you know that every season I've had kind of a co-host there, and we've had guests there. We've had kind of a team around. And this is the first time where I've kind of just done the episodes on my own. And this format may not be the forever answer, but this is what God told me to do in this season, and I'm trying my best to stick to the script and to be obedient. And when it comes to familiarizing myself with the plan, that was the first thing that I had to do. When God revealed to me what this season was going to be like and some of the things that he wanted me to do and to accomplish in this season, I had to familiarize myself with that. I wrote all those things down. I planned out each segment, how it was going to look, how it was going to sound, how I would go about it to familiarize myself with the vision that God gave me. So if you take these steps and you do this with your own vision, I believe these are great first steps to help your vision actually turn into reality. So if you follow these steps and you start to see fruit and you start to see your vision come to pass, make sure you leave a comment, send me a message, and let me know. All right, let's go ahead and get into some questions for today. And the first question says, what should I do when I feel like I'm called to something big, but I have no resources or support? The first thing that I want to tell you, if God has called you to something and it's the season for you to do it, you do have the resources, okay? And you might not have the resources to make it look like what it's going to end up looking like 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, but you have the resources to start. God has already put those resources inside of you. And all you have to do is begin with what you have. If you're selling dinners and you want to start a restaurant, start cooking those meals and invite people over so they can have a meal at your house. Ask them what they think about it. Tell them to put some comments on your Instagram page. Start with what you have. I did the very same thing with this podcast. When we started out in the beginning, we didn't have all the cameras and all the equipment, but we just started with what we had. We did what we had to do with the resources we had. We pulled together. Everybody bought a camera that they had. Everybody got together to buy some microphones, and we just did it with what we had. And that's what you had to do. Take the little bit that you have, even if it doesn't look like the grand vision that God gave you, and just start going for it. Start doing everything that you can in your own power right now. Let's see. The next question says, is it okay to dream big as a Christian? I feel like sometimes I'm afraid of being too ambitious. I absolutely love this question because I think it's a misconception by a lot of people that if you are a Christian, it's bad for us to be wealthy or to have ambitions or to go after things in our lives. And that's not true. God actually wants us to be prosperous and live in abundance, right? The issue becomes when you become greedy. That's when it crosses the line. When you start to do things just for money and just for notoriety, and you discard that thing that God has called you to do and told you to do in your life, That's when it becomes an issue. It's okay for you to want, it's okay for you to go after those things in your life which you want and which you desire, but always include God, always consult God, and make sure you're not crossing those lines of greed and doing things for the wrong reasons. Last question here. What do I do when I've started working towards my vision, but I keep facing obstacle after obstacle? Here's what you do. You smile. And here's the reason why you smile. If you're going through obstacle after obstacle, I can guarantee you that you're becoming stronger. You're becoming a stronger individual because of the things that you're going through. So it's okay to be going through obstacles. The other thing is you're getting smarter. You're learning through every single one of those obstacles, and you're going to be better off for it in the long run. And this is the last thing I want to tell you about that. You should also be smiling because you're probably on the right track. If you're going down the wrong path, doing the wrong things, the enemy probably wouldn't put obstacles in your way. We just let you go down that path. But if you're running through obstacle after obstacle, it's probably because you're heading in the right direction, and the enemy does not like that. Welcome to this segment we call the Perfect Brew, where we try to create that perfect brew just for you, that tailored response directly to what you're dealing with in your life, just like that favorite drink that you go get that's made special for you. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and read today's order. It says, I recently started setting boundaries with a longtime friend because I realized she's always bringing negativity into my life. She's constantly gossiping and complaining, and I feel drained every time we talk. I've tried to talk to her about it and set boundaries, but it doesn't seem to be working. How do I handle this in the right way? Well, number one, I think that you're on the right track with setting boundaries, but here's what I think you should do about the boundaries. I think not only do you need to set the boundaries, but you need to make sure that you are enforcing the boundaries. A lot of times we set boundaries with individuals and we tell them how we feel and we tell them that we don't want them to cross this line. But in all honesty, there's no consequence if they do cross that line. So I think you need to talk to her and you need to decide on your own, what are those consequences going to be? Am I going to separate myself from her? Am I going to tell her that we can't hang out as much, that I don't want to have these conversations with her? Is it going to be that whenever she starts talking negatively or complaining about somebody, that I'm going to end the conversation? Whatever that is, you need to let her know that, and then make sure you are enforcing them. So if she crosses that line and she begins gossiping around you or complaining, and it's starting to drain you and make you feel that way, then you have to do what you said you're going to do, because if you don't, it will just continue. And right along with that, if it continues and the boundaries are not working for you, then you need to make the decision to step away, to separate yourself, to create some space for your own mental health, for your own peace. Because have you ever heard, individuals say, when you're with a person, you start to look like them? Well, the same thing can start to happen when you're around negative people. You'll find yourself beginning to say negative things, to act kind of like that person if you're around them too much. And it continues to happen. So separate yourself if necessary, set those boundaries, and also make sure you enforce those boundaries. I hope this was the perfect brew just for you. I hope that helps you out. If you want to be featured on this segment, make sure you DM us or send us a comment and let us know what you're going through, and we will make sure to put your issue on this segment. Let's get into our final segment, that is Subject on the Spot, where I am given a random subject and 60 seconds to come up with a mini sermon on it. And I'm going to pull up the app to generate a random topic for us today. And today's topic is movie theaters. That's an interesting topic. I'm going to start the timer in 3, 2, 1, go. Movie theaters used to be something that was an experience for us, right? Growing up, especially, you go to the movie theater, you get your drink, you get your popcorn, you get your snacks, you're there with friends, you're there with family, you go into the movie theater, you see all the previews, you hear the loud surround sound, and it's an entire experience. And this is something we looked forward to on weekends, amongst those who we loved and who we like to hang out with and be with. But now we've switched to streaming services where you just watch movies from your bed at home. You don't even have to go to the movie theater anymore. And I think the same thing with church, right? It's okay to stream the church services at home and to watch the Word of God from your house. because his presence can be felt everywhere. But let's not forget the power of being in the sanctuary, hearing the music, being with others and worshiping God. There is something to be had there. And I think although we can enjoy it from home, we should also still go in person and enjoy it that way as well. And just like that, another episode is in the book. We're almost done with season 5. We got a few more episodes here, but I want to thank you all for watching and for listening. Send this to somebody else so that they can get something out of it too. And I will see you next week, same time, same place.